Hey everyone, Amar here. In this video I'm going to be talking about the ultimate skill all humans need to develop more of. When you develop more of this skill, you'll be more effective in every single area of life, right? It's this meta skill. So I want to share this with you, give you some ideas for how to develop it as well. Before we get into the video, I would like to welcome you to subscribe. If you're new here, if you like this type of content, hit the red subscribe button. Also, if you are on Instagram and you want daily motivation, go ahead, check me out on there as well. I'll put the link for that in the comments. But without further ado, let's get into this video. The ultimate human skill we all need more of. Well, I'll tell you what it is to begin with. It's the power of focus, right? This is the ultimate meta skill. So when I say meta, I mean, if you master this one thing, underneath that, you'll master so many other areas of life, right? Focus, concentration, just that ability to stay single-minded on one thing. This for me didn't come easily. I've often said in my videos I had ADHD, even though I was undiagnosed. I had concentration problems, attention deficit disorder, or whatever you want to call it. Couldn't concentrate. Nothing would ever go in. So I actually made this something that I was going to work on. And in fact, this is something that I'm always conscious of with a lot of the growth work I'm doing. I'm always conscious of, is this developing my focus? Is this helping me develop stronger concentration, right? Because I understand that without it, you're really going to struggle in almost every area of life. Whether that's emotionally or mentally or achieving something or going in a certain direction, you need this focus and concentration to be able to do whatever you want to do, to not suffer as much as well, right? It's just a key piece of being a human being, right? But the bad news is we're never really taught how to focus. You've probably heard this before, where at school the teacher will tell you, or your parents will tell you, just focus. And it's like, it's expected for us to know how to focus, right? But no one actually teaches us how to focus. If you were lucky enough and maybe you got good genetics and a healthy brain and a good upbringing or whatever, you might have just naturally learned how to focus quite well. If you don't have good genetics or a healthy brain or this stuff, then maybe this didn't come easily to you, didn't come easily to me, right? And the way the world is at the moment as well, with like social media and Instagram and all these easy, pleasurable things we have access to, it doesn't cultivate stronger focus, right? There's no reason for us to develop stronger focus because it's so pleasurable just to flick through short videos and just binge on TV shows and things. Like, there's no need. Why would we need to develop a stronger focus? Because the world doesn't demand it from us, almost, right? So we almost have to go intentionally to develop this skill, right? Because if you don't do it intentionally, the world ain't going to support you with it. We don't learn it in school. Like I said, no one actually sits us down and teaches us. At the end of the video, we'll share with you a couple of things you can do. But yeah, it's something you're going to have to take responsibility for. Especially if you struggle with things like reading and learning and just comprehending information. You're not going to be able to change your life. Like, it's that big. You can't change your life if you can't stay focused on one thing, right? You will know how strong your focus is if you're always distracted or if you can't read very well. These are massive clues. And if you don't have that skill, then I think you're going to struggle to change, right? Whatever you're trying to change. So let me get into more of the kind of the mechanics behind this. Or even on a spiritual level as well. Kind of what I think was going on and how I interpret this idea of focus. So from a spiritual level, we could say it's just all consciousness, right? All consciousness, everything is happening in consciousness. I see focus and concentration as like concentrated consciousness, right? We're taking all of this consciousness and we're directing it in one direction, right? And that's a big thing, right? We need to have a strong mind to do that because there's so much going on, right? We can see so much, we can feel and hear and smell, all of this stuff going on around us and within us. We've literally got to take all of that and put it down into a single point and direct it in one place, right? That ain't easy to do. If you have a lot of negative thoughts or mental problems, you'll understand how difficult that is to do, because as hard as you might try to stay focused, some thought might pop in your head, or you might experience some negative emotion and you know you lost your focus, right? And this is why I say that having that strong, solid focus, concentrating consciousness onto a single point, essentially, is going to like protect you against all these external and internal distractions, right? It's actually a great act of the will, right? We have to use our willpower. I don't know enough about willpower. I'm trying to learn more, like this idea that I can direct things. At least that's what it feels like. What is that willpower? It's something I'm new to, something I'm trying to learn more about. But the idea is we do have willpower. At least that's what it feels like. And we can use that willpower to direct this unlimited consciousness in one direction. And like I said, this is at the beginning, while you're building that focus up, it's quite mentally taxing work. I actually been reading a book recently where the author says that he went to see some great lecturer or some great teacher, right? This guy was just really great. I don't know who it was. And loads of people turned up to his lecture, and the lecture lasted an hour or something. And the guy said while he was sat there, he couldn't understand what the guy was talking about. It was boring to him. He just didn't get it. And so he really persevered and tried with all his attention and focus to really listen to this guy, right? And he said during the lecture, he was just literally sweating because he was having to put so much focus into what this guy was saying, because this guy was just levels above him and probably most people there. He said at the end of the lecture, he grasped about 50% of what this guy's genius, right? And he said it changed him because he was just talking on such a high level that if you listen to someone like that and you really comprehend it, it will change you, right? But most people just don't have that level of focus and concentration to comprehend things that are way outside of what they know. Anyway, taking it back to the story. So after the lecture, this guy, he went and had a chat with the other people, the other attendees, and everyone was saying, no, it was boring, they didn't really get it, and they thought it would be more interesting and all of this stuff. It's not that it was boring and they didn't get it. It's because they didn't have the capacity to comprehend what he was talking about. Because he was just so much higher than them that they weren't able to exercise their focus muscle and their concentration muscle to really absorb what this genius of a man was actually talking about, right? This other guy, the guy who wrote the book, was able to comprehend some of it because he really tried, like I said, and he was sweating. That's how hard he was focusing. You've probably heard that thing said where the brain uses like 40 or 50% of your whole body's energy. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a lot, right? So your mind's using so much energy. So you start cranking that up as well through really strong focus and concentration, then it's going to feel hard. The good news is it's like a muscle. It's like a focus muscle. The more you get into the habit of using it, right, consciously, it gets a little bit easier. It really does. But at the beginning, it's going to feel hard, right? So before I end the video, I will share with you a couple of things I suggest you can do to really start to develop that focus muscle, right? Like I said, you're going to need this muscle to change your life, because if you're trying to go in a certain direction or achieve something, you're going to need to stay focused on one thing, right? But if you can't literally stay focused enough to read a book, I would suggest you're probably not going to stay focused enough to achieve something, unfortunately. And it's because, like I said, all the external thing that's going on around us, the world, our internal emotions and thoughts, all dragging our attention away. But you'll get to a point where you exercise this focus muscle enough that you can hold your focus and you won't be pulled away by the emotions and by the thoughts. And that will actually help you be better regulated emotionally. It'll give you a higher level of emotional mastery, right? Because you'll be regulating your emotions with your mind. Your mind is essentially what's going to give you better emotional control, right? So let me share with you a couple of things you can do to just start cultivating stronger focus and concentration. A couple of things I always talk about, but I'm just going to give them to you again. A reminder, never hurt anyone. First one is you've got to be meditating every single day. The type of meditation I suggest for this is, obviously, stay away from things like guided meditations. I would suggest doing very simple meditation, like focusing on your breath, right? Or just focusing on nothingness if you're doing it with your eyes closed, right? And just trying to keep that clear or mind, or just that focus on one thing like your breath or a candle or something. Every time you lose that focus, bring it back. Every time we bring it back, we're training that concentration muscle, right? And just do this for 10-15 minutes a day or however long you can. And then the second thing I suggest you do, again, something I'm always talking about, is reading books. Read books that are outside of your comprehension. Because like I've just shared with you, that story, if you're able to comprehend that stuff, your focus muscles are going to get so much stronger, right? At the beginning, it can feel challenging. It can be boring and tedious, I know. But it's like, how much do you want to change, right? How much do you want to grow? I want you to get to the point where you will literally do whatever it takes to grow. And reading has helped me probably the most out of anything else. I mean it. I was such a bad reader. Reading for now has become like a meditation, right? I'm so zoned in. I'm so focused. And when you really begin to take in information quickly, it changes you quite quickly. So stick with it. Find books that you don't maybe fully understand, but just persevere through them. Read them twice. Read them 3 times if you've got the tenacity and the patience. Honestly, it'll really change you. I know it's hard work, but it works. And the third thing I'll suggest is just what I was talking about in my last video, is to develop more self-discipline. The thing about self-discipline is it allows us to cut out distractions. We stay focused on what we've got to do. And the thing about self-discipline is when you get more disciplined, you become more focused. As you become more focused, you become more disciplined. It's like this cycle of discipline and focus. So watch my last video about self-discipline, but the more kind of regimented you can get, stick to your day and do all the things you've got to do, then you're going to love yourself more if you watch my last video, but also you're going to develop that focus muscle, that concentration muscle, which is going to give you so much power over your whole life, right? And that's essentially what I'm after. Like I said, it's a meta skill. If you get this one thing down, I honestly believe almost everything else in life will be much easier to manage, right? This is the skill that makes us uniquely human, right? Animals, for the most part, can't consciously direct their attention towards something. They might unconsciously do it if they're chasing a prey or something, but that's just their instinctual tendency, right? Whereas we can actually choose what we want to focus on, right? But we don't actually work to cultivate it enough. So do the work, develop this capacity, and it will change your life, right? But that is everything I have to talk about in the video. If you did enjoy it, or if you've got anything to add, feel free to hit me up in the comments. Go ahead, give it a like, share, subscribe. It really helps me out. Check out my book if you haven't already. I'll put a link down below. But until next time, remember to keep it living free and being free. Peace.